What's going on, my beautiful fantasy managers? This is the Commissioner here. Week 5 recap. Missed week 4, but that's okay. We're back. Alright, so we're going to get straight into the waiver pickups for this week. The biggest waiver pickup for this week was Chase Brown. Netflix and Hill got him for $400, 40% of the fab there. Jack's brother, Kyle B, rebranded from Jack's daddy to Jack's brother. Very exciting news. He put in an offer for $350, so $50 under that winning mark there. Jimmy Stuffers put in an offer for $160. Due Process put in an offer for $37. Next ad, we have Javonte Williams getting picked up by the Boners. A total of $334 fab dollars there, so about 33%. Javonte Williams had one other offer claim, and that was Jimmy again, falling a little short, $140 there. But the third pickup, Jimmy did succeed by picking up Dontavian Wicks for $110. We'll see how that works out for him. The Commissioner, next pickup, Tyler Algier for $102. The Knights Who Say Snee picks up Jacoby Myers, $101. Jack's brother picks up Christian Kirk for $100. Jack's brother also picks up Trey Sermon for $100. Keegs put in a couple offers there for $4 and $3. Jimmy Stuffers picks up Justice Hill for $95. The Barsuganators picks up Josh Downs for $28. Pretty good pickup there. Unsuccessful on his Romeo Doubs pickup because he did get Josh Downs. Let's see, the Knights Who Say Snee picks up the Patriots D for $22. The Barsuganators picks up Austin Seibert for $1, and then Jack's brother picks up Cairo Santo for $0. That was the Wednesday. Thursday offers report here. Due Process picks up Zach Charbonnet, $120. And then the Delnor Diddlers unsuccessful claim for $25 on Charbonnet. And then we'll go into the Saturday. Delnor Diddlers picks up Alexander Madison, $10. The Jimmy Stuffers pick up Browns D for $0. And that is going to do it for the offer report. Let's get right into the weekly matchups.
I'll be in the sky. I'll be there.
All right, getting into our matchups for the week. First matchup here, we have Commish versus the Knights Who Say Sneak. Commish taking down the Knights 122 to 115. Leading scorer for the Commish is T. Higgins. He ended the game with 24.8 fantasy points. We have 9 receptions, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns on 14 targets. So great week there for T. Higgins. The leading scorer for the Knights is Kyler Murray. He ended the game with 24.1 points. He had 195 passing yards, a touchdown, 1 interception, and then 7 carries for 83 yards and 1 touchdown. So also a great week there for Kyler. The Commish also had Brock Bowers go for 19.7 fantasy points. Young Hoku go for 16.4 fantasy points. The Knights also had BTJ go for 20.7 points, and Kaimi Fairbairn go for 17.6. Pretty solid week from both teams, both respectable scores. Just squeaked that one out there. Let's see, next matchup, we're actually heading into our segment of the week, and that is taking out the trash. All right, so taking out the trash segment, we have Due Process beating the Delnor Diddlers 129 to 99. 30-point gap here, the largest gap of the week. Delnor Diddlers are the trash. Let's see, let's get into it. We got Garrett Wilson, the top scorer for Due Process. Finally coming in with a good week, Garrett Wilson is here. 22.6 fantasy points for Garrett. 13 receptions, 101 yards, a touchdown on 22 targets. Great week, a lot of volume here for Garrett Wilson. That's exactly what you want to see as an owner. With the Robert Saleh firing, that's more up in the air, but we will see. Top scorer for the Del Norte Diddlers is DJ Moore. DJ Moore had 5 receptions, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 8 targets. A little touchdown-heavy game this week for DJ Moore. Seeing his second fewest targets, still 8, which is fantastic. So only up here for DJ Moore, volume-wise, and that's probably his cap on his touchdowns. If he gets 3 touchdowns in a week, I'd be surprised, but you never know. Due Process also had Brandon Ayuk going for 18.7 fantasy points, and then Derrick Henry was 16.1. The Del Norte Diddlers, second high scorer is George Kittle with 16.4, and Harrison Butker with 13.6. That'll be the end of taking out the trash. All right, getting into our next matchup here, we have Jack's brother taking down Netflix and Hill. Jack's brother scoring 137. That is the top scorer for the week. Good job, Kyle B. Taking down Netflix and Hill, 118. Leading scorer for Jack's brother here is Lamar Jackson. He came out with 33.4 fantasy points, 348 yards passing, 4 touchdowns through the air. And then we also have 1 fumble, 12 carries for 55 yards. Great week here for Lamar Jackson. Very high scoring game against the Bengals. Exactly what you want to see as a fantasy manager. Netflix and Hill's top scorer this week is Tucker Kraft. Great pickup here for Parker. 4 receptions, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns on 5 targets. 22.8 fantasy points. Great week for Tucker Kraft. Unfortunate here for Parker. Scored a lot of points. Very respectable week. Let's see, he was the 4th highest scorer out of 12. Just unlucky matchup. It is what it is. Jack's brothers' next 2 scorers here are Drake London, 27.4 fantasy points. Great week for Drake. And then Josh Jacobs, 15.9. Netflix and Hill's second and third scorer here are DeAndre Swift, 19 fantasy points, and James Cook with 16.9 fantasy points. Respectable week from both these guys. Just a banger of a matchup. Going down to our next matchup here, we have the Boners taking down the Martini Police, 86-79. It's kind of a low-scoring banger here. The Boners' top scorer, Dak Prescott, 16.38 fantasy points. He had 352 yards through the air, 2 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, 1 fumble, and then 1 carry for 3 yards. That's 3 turnovers for Dak. They still somehow won that game. Pittsburgh D's real. Wasn't enough though. Or it was enough for Connor, but not for the Steelers. Top scorer here for the Martini Police, kind of funny, Justin Fields. He came out with 15.94 fantasy points. He had 131 passing yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, and then he also had 6 carries for 27 yards. Both QBs are the top scorers here for this matchup. The Boners' second and third scorer here is Javonte Williams, 13.6 fantasy points. Justin Tucker coming in third here at 13 fantasy points. Second and third scorers for the Martini Police are Kyron Williams with 15 fantasy points and Ken Walker with 11.1 fantasy points. Kind of an off week for both of these guys, both 3-2. Pretty good futures here in the league. We'll see how it goes. Still only week 5. Still a lot of time to be played. Getting into the next matchup here is Dr. Doom's Dementor Army taking down the Jimmy Stuffers. Dr. Doom's Dementor Army, 96 to the Jimmy Stuffers, 69.7. Lead scorer for the Dr. Dooms here, Geno Smith. Geno Smith, 284 passing yards and 1 touchdown. 4 carries for 72 yards. 22.56 fantasy points. Pretty good performance there from Geno. And then top scorer for the Stuffers was Rashid Shaheed. He had 16.6 fantasy points. 4 receptions, 86 yards, a touchdown on 9 targets. Pretty good week there for Shaheed. Great pickup for Jack still on the waivers. Dr. Doom's Dementor Army's second and third score was Chicago's defense with 15, and Isaiah Likely with 14.8. The Stuffers' second and third scores are Josh Allen. He had 14.6, and Austin Eckler with 10.7. Dr. Doom's Dementor Army, this might be his best week so far. Let me check. Yep, 96 will be his top week. That's good signs for his team. You love seeing the team getting better throughout the year. Only up from here for Donnie. Let's get back here. And then we get to the Jimmy Stuffers. Not fantastic for the Jimmy Stuffers. He needs to find some pieces. Needs some guys to step up. Josh Allen only scoring 14 is not going to do it. He did have a couple players on bye. He had Jahmyr Gibbs and J.K. Dobbins on bye. So he's getting those out early. Let's just hope that he can start pulling it back here a little bit and still compete for a playoff spot. And getting into our last matchup of the week here, we have Kick Bass taking down the Barsuganators, 115.86 to 104.32. Kick Bass's top scorer is Mike Evans. He had 20.7 fantasy points, 5 receptions, 62 yards on 2 touchdowns with 7 targets. Great week for Mike Evans here. Not a really volume-heavy guy, just touchdown heavy. So can't complain there. It's very boom bust, but when he does boom, he's not busting, or he is busting. Top scorer for Keegan, Jamar Chase. I think Jamar Chase scored the most fantasy points out of any player this week. He had 10 receptions, 193 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 12 targets, 36.3 fantasy points. Great week for Chase. Just not enough to do it for the Barsuganators here. Kick Bass, his second scorer was Kareem Hunt, 18.2 fantasy points, and Ramondre Stevenson, 17.2. Great pickup on the Hunt there. I think he spent a decent amount of change on the fab. I want to say it was maybe 30 or 40% on the Kareem Hunt pickup there. Ramondre Stevenson, solid week. Second scorer for Keegs is Jaden Daniels, 19 fantasy points there. Solid week for the Manders. I think they scored like 40-something points. And then Josh Downs with 11.4. I mean, just a good week from Kyle, 115. Keegan put up respectable numbers in 104, but he had the Devon Achane concussion injury. He had a Deebo Samuel stinker. So if one of those guys just scores 10, 11, 12 points, it's a completely different game there. But unfortunately for Keegs, he does fall short. And that'll be it for the matchups. We're going to be going into the standings.
Yeah, like I was a man with no name. Now I'm attributing more fame, but all of this ain't gonna matter.
All right, getting into the standings for the week here. A little jump since we did miss last week. We have the Charmander division. Top of the pack of the Charmander division is the Del Nord Diddlers. 3-2. He does have the advantage here on Jack's brother with points 4. Jack's brother, Kyle B, is coming in second here. Coming in a close third is the Barsuganators. I would be on Barsuganators' watch. I'm pretty sure he does have about a 40-point lead on those top two guys there. So if there is a Barsuganators win and a couple losses for those guys on top, expect the Barsuganators to launch up to first. You never know. And then we have the Jimmy Stuffers coming in fourth at 1-4. The Jimmy Stuffers down a decent amount of points here on those top three guys, but you never know. It's only week 5. Going next to the Squirtle division, we have the Knights Who Say Snee in first at 3-2. He is winning the point differential here between the Boners in second and Due Process in third. Let's actually check it out here. The Knights Who Say Snee actually lead the league in points for. And then we have the Boners coming in about 70 points behind him, and then Due Process about 100 points behind him. So Ian does have a nice point lead there on those guys. And then Netflix and Hill at 0-5. Kind of been rough for Netflix and Hill this week, or this year. He does have the most points against. Unfortunately, you hate being that guy, but it is what it is. That's fantasy football for you. Going into the Bulbasaur division, we have the Commish at the first seed here. And then we have Kick Bass coming in at a close second. There's about a 20-point differential there between me and Kyle in second. Martini Police coming in third, 3-2. Right under Kick Bass in points for, about 7 points under him. So still very close. And then Doctor's Doom's Dementor Army at 1-4. Donnie does have the least amount of points for this season. But yet again, season's not over. There's still a lot of week, more than half of the week. We're in week 5. We go till week 14 before playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check here. We go all the way to week 14 before the playoffs start. So we're a little bit over a third of the way. Still a lot of opportunity left for everybody. If you are one of those bottom teams, maybe it's time to start looking at some trades. Maybe it's time to start really sniping the fab, spending the fab, making sure you do spend all that fab before the year is over. You never know. So that is the recap for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next week.